So James Charles sat down with Sofia Franklyn on her podcast, Sofia with an F, to discuss his allegations. As soon as it was announced that James was going to be a guest on her podcast, it wasn't met with a positive reaction whatsoever. Many people found it icky of Sofia to bring James onto her podcast and basically give him a platform to defend himself. James never does podcasts or interviews, so it was a pretty big deal for him to be on Sofia's, and I'm sure she knew she'd get views, and he was able to promote his song as well as some new products that were being released from his painted makeup brand. So it was somewhat of a win-win. James did already do an article with Cosmo over the summer where he kind of addressed the allegations against him. And again, this was around the time when he dropped his painted makeup brand. But in the article, he attempted to clear his name and denounced the accusations. He also went on to say that after getting called out, he went through a very dark time with Morphe dropping him, his own brother stopped talking to him for at least 2 years, and he had many nights of crying himself to sleep. He also said that he's trying hard to work on himself and get his career to where it used to be, and even after everything that's happened, he still slides in DMs, but now he asks for their ID. And in the podcast episode, James does talk more about the allegations, as well as how he's been doing now since everything that's happened. And they do reference the Cosmo article as well. Sofia starts off the episode by saying that she does like to keep the podcast lighthearted, but because she has James on as a guest, she feels a responsibility to talk about what he's been accused of. Sofia starts off by asking how he's been doing since the situation happened 4 years ago, and he responds by saying that he's been doing great mentally, and it's been a rough and difficult time healing and getting to the place where he is now, but he did it. He goes on to say that he will never forget everything he's gone through, but sees it as a blessing in disguise and is proud of himself for having gone through that.
Where are you now with the situation?
I'm great. I'm really good. And I'm at a really good mental place. It took me a long time to heal and get over and get through everything, but it's something that I will never forget about and have had to live with. But it's been such a blessing in disguise, truly, to teach me so many valuable life lessons about love, about business, about just my own personal safety and protection. And it was, a thing to go through, but I'm really proud of, the mental progress that I've made. And I do like to believe that everything happens for a reason. So I'm good. I'm good.
Sofia then goes on to discuss the Cosmo article that James was featured in. Sofia pulls a quote from the article, and that specific quote she pulls says, "When I polled friends and colleagues about Charles in the run-up to this day, the general consensus was that he did something bad, but no one was clear on exactly what." This is an interesting quote that she pulled since it's well known that James was accused of allegedly messaging underage guys when he was of age and sending them flirty and provocative messages. Multiple teen boys came to social media to call him out, and even if some of them did make it up, there were still enough stories to make people question it. If it happens more than once, people have a right to be suspicious and think that what James did was wrong. But Sofia goes on to say that she thinks that quote is important when it comes to talking about his allegations and asks James to weigh in on it. James responds by saying that he shared a lot of his life online, and because of it, he has gotten himself into some scandals. It wasn't common for YouTubers to hire a PR team to get them out of scandals at the time, so like most YouTubers, he did what everyone else did when they got into a scandal and sat down to film a video where he addressed everything on his own. He says that with every scandal he's had, he's always been open about them online. He's never tried to shut anyone up legally, and he's always tried to have an open conversation about what he's been accused of.
But what do you think they meant by that?
I think that I grew up in a time on YouTube where we are used to sharing every single aspects of our lives. And, ever since day one, I have made a lot of mistakes growing up. I've had a lot of great moments, a lot of bad moments, a lot of embarrassing moments, and that's all documented online. As YouTubers, we didn't have publicists, we didn't have PR teams. When we did something bad, we were taught that the appropriate response is to get on camera and have an open and honest conversation with the people that gave us the platforms in the first place. Some of my apology things in the past have become memes or videos that people have laughed at, which I can understand why. I will say anytime that I've ever fucked up, I've gotten online and I've always been honest.
He goes on to say that when he was 21, he had conversations with 2 guys who lied about being 18, and after talking to them for about an hour, he realized that they had lied about their age. And as an example, he uses a guy who admits he lied in the Cosmo article to prove his point. He says that when these accusations were posted on social media, it was crazy news, which in return, of course, went viral and spiraled out of control. He says that when he apologized, he only really apologized for not checking IDs, but his apology got misconstrued.
And I think that when I realized that I fucked up, like I had mentioned, I wanted to get online and have a conversation and apologize for what I did do, which is that when I was 21, I had conversations with two guys that told me they were 18. And after about an hour-long convo, I realized that they were lying and I blocked them, and that was it. On social media, we all know that the most interesting or the most exaggerated or the craziest content is what's going to go viral. So I apologize for something that I did do and that I recognize was wrong, which was not checking IDs and not taking proper precautions with the people that I was having conversations with. And I will forever admit that and be embarrassed by that and own that. But it just got so twisted into all sorts of crazy words and accusations and stories that literally just did not happen. And I think that because I posted an apology, it turned into, oh, James Charles apologized for what was said in this tweet, or James Charles apologized for what was said in this video, but that's not what it was.
Sofia then takes what James said about his apology video and relates it to herself. She says that when a content creator posts an apology video, they can pretty much never win. And James says that he found that the only way a creator can really say they're sorry is through action, which is something he claims to have been doing over the past few years.
Well, it's crazy. The whole apology video thing, and I've done a few of them, they bite you in the ass. Which that's so backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like it should be a good thing, but the video will never be good enough. They weren't sad enough. They weren't remorseful enough. They didn't say the, you know what I mean?
Like I think that when you do fuck up, like you need to show remorse and that you're sorry and own what you did. The only way to truthfully do that is over time through action. Like I think that you need to show an apology rather than say an apology.
Actions speak louder than words.
Every time. You have to prove that you're sorry and realize what you did was wrong over time. And I'm glad that I've been able to do that over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The last question Sofia asked James is about the term anchoring bias. She defines anchoring bias as people usually holding on to and believing the first piece of information they hear about something and how it's difficult for them to let it go and change their opinion. She relates this back to James as well as herself. She asked James if he thinks that his allegations will always be a part of him, which he says he does think so. He says that it does suck, but it is his fault and something he has to live with. He goes on to say that in 2019, many drama videos were made about his dating life, which resulted in people posting their conversations with James on social media, which has given him trust issues and messed with his reputation.
Moving forward, do you feel like this is something that will always be a part of your story and you and...
Unfortunately, yeah, I do. That sucks, but at the end of the day, it's my fault. So it is what it is. Like I said, I've moved past it. I think that, you know, whenever drama videos first started being made about me in 2019, my dating life became extremely public. And it just, once again, unfortunately, became a trend to post conversations that people have with me, whether they were on DMs, dating apps, in real life, and it started getting a lot of engagement. So that's always going to be something that I will now need to look out for when having any sort of conversation, romantic or not. And, you know, it becomes a thing where now if anybody makes anything with any sort of claim, like you said, it's the anchoring bias where people say, oh, I've heard this before, so it's must be true.
It's the first thing I heard, and there's nothing different.
Yeah.
He says that any and all information can be faked and go viral, so he thinks everyone should look for an accurate source based on the topic.
I mean, regardless of any sort of like scandal, whether it's, you know, politics, celebrity news, a new divorce, a new baby mama drama, whatever it is, and like information is so easily accessible, but also just as easily misconstrued. And everything goes viral every couple of seconds on all different platforms with whatever information is going to be most entertaining to the viewers.
Totally.
And I just think it's a vital skill to be able to look for, you know, a real source or accurate information, regardless of whatever topic is being discussed.
James also says that he's talked about his allegations so many times to the point where he doesn't think people care to hear him talk about it anymore. But Sofia disagrees and says that what happened is huge, so people want to hear him talk about it.
I'm glad like I said, I'm an open book. I have no problem talking about anything, but it's been years and I've talked about this so many times. Honestly, I don't think anybody gives a anymore. Not that they don't. Oh my God, that's bad wording too.
Wait, why?
Well, I mean, not that they don't care about what happened. I think that people don't want to hear me talk about it.
No, the thing is, I think they do. Like people do anything that was big like that and made a splash. They do want to keep hearing it.
I think it'll get views, but I think that at the end of the day, I will always take accountability for what I did do, but I refuse to, you know, admit to what I didn't. So I just hope that through time, once again, I'm able to continue showing the person that I am and
Yeah.
just moving forward and growing.
Then they go on to talk about his painted makeup brand, and he also promotes his new song. But later on in the episode, he also talks about when he does find someone and is serious about them and knows that they aren't just using him for clout, he does plan on going public with them and showing them off.
When you get in a serious relationship, will you be public with that person?
Yes, but after a really long time. I think that I've been a clout token far too many times for men that I didn't give a f about. So I would really want to make sure that the person that I'm with, I was positive that they were in it for the right reasons and not trying to use me for anything other than genuinely loving the human being that I am before posting it. And of course I want to make cute shit. I want the fucking likes on a relationship video.
Sophia is receiving some backlash for doing this podcast episode with James. She's giving him a platform to address his allegations, which is not something that people want to see. Pretty much everyone has made up their mind about James at this point, whether they dislike him for what he did, or they believe that the accusations are fake, or even think that James has changed and learned his lesson and isn't the same guy he was 4 years ago. But this episode isn't likely to change people's minds. I understand why James would want to do the podcast episode, since it's a way to attempt to clear his name and show that he's changed, while also promoting his makeup and his song. But Sophia isn't really getting much out of it besides maybe some extra views and some backlash. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this entire situation in the comments, and as always, I will talk to you in the next video.